You're watching News at Prime. Let's continue now with one of our leading stories, a family that lost their daughter after she was allegedly run over by a farmer. Say they've been offered money and food items by the perpetrator's family. Now, the three families in Dalton, KwaZulu-Natal, are demanding justice for the deaths of three women. Let's speak now to legal expert Ulrich Roux about the implications stemming from allegations that the family of the perpetrator allegedly offered compensation to the affected families. Ulrich, good evening to you, and it's always a pleasure talking to you, particularly on legal matters such as this one. Can I start off the conversation with the question asking whether someone can legally offer money to a victim's family like this, and how do the courts view an action of that nature? Would that be seen as an admission of guilt?
Hi, Chloe. Thank you for having me. Yes, certainly the allegations are very bizarre and concerning if they are indeed true. There is a mediation type process that can take place in criminal matters. We refer to it as alternative dispute resolution, or ADR. But certainly just offering compensation to victims prior to the matter being enrolled in court and without the involvement of the National Prosecuting Authority or the South African Police Services can be seen as unethical, and can also be seen as obstruction to justice. You know, if these allegations are true, that the accused person offered money to the families in order not to pursue the charges or to have the charges withdrawn, it can be seen as obstructing justice, and he could face dire consequences as a result thereof. Now, in the past, matters have been resolved through alternative dispute resolution. I think a well-known case which people might remember was quite a number of years back, but there was a South African rugby player who had killed a Metro Police officer subsequent to the Metro Police officer allegedly soliciting a bribe from him. He pleaded guilty to the charges leveled against him, and as part of his sentence, and in order to avoid serving a period of imprisonment, it was ordered by the court that he pay financial compensation towards the family members, given that the deceased was the sole breadwinner of the family. That process, however, was included, or the National Prosecuting Authority and the South African Police Services were included in that process, and it was formally approved by the court prior to it being part of the sentence which he received when he pleaded guilty. So certainly alternative dispute resolution is a part of our criminal procedure in South Africa, and matters can be resolved through that process, but it definitely does not sound as if the right channels were followed and the right procedures followed, if indeed the accused person in this matter offered 20,000 Rand to the family members in order not to pursue these charges.
In fact, what you are reminding of, Ulrich, is the B.S. Roux case. That was the rugby player. He received a suspended sentence after paying 750,000 Rand to the victim's widow. And so with that reminder, in fact, it's such a poignant case. Who oversees these kinds of private settlements to ensure that families are not taken advantage of?
Well, I was in fact one of the attorneys involved in that matter. That is why I referred to it. And the procedure that we followed is the matter was first enrolled in court, and we then approached the National Prosecuting Authority as well as the family members of the deceased, and we had a mediation session, and these were the pressing needs of the surviving family members, in that, as I said before, the deceased was the sole breadwinner of that family. And with him passing away, their income was obviously severely strained, and they required funds in order to keep the family alive and in order to put food on the table. And that was one of the requirements for us to plead guilty and to receive a suspended sentence. Now, you need to follow the right channels. You need to do it through the National Prosecuting Authority, and the investigating officer and the South African Police Services need to be involved at every step of the way. If you do not do it in that way, then, as I said before, your actions in trying to reach some sort of settlement could be seen as obstruction to justice and in certain instances as corruption or bribery.
Yeah. Let's conclude the conversation on the theme that you've just pointed to, and that is the following the right channels. The families today telling our colleague who's covering this story for us that it's the first time that they have learned that the perpetrator, the alleged perpetrator, is actually undergoing a court case, and it's the first time that they've even heard of the charges that he is facing, that of culpable homicide and driving under the influence of alcohol. What legal recourse should these families, these three families, follow after this revelation?
Well, in this instance, very tragically, three of their family members passed away. So the South African Police Services and the National Prosecuting Authority is in fact acting on their behalf as the victims of this crime. So they should at all times ensure that they are in contact with the officials designated to the matter by the NPA and the South African Police Services, and it is the duty of these officials to also keep them informed as to what transpires, what are the charges that have been leveled against the accused, when is the next court appearance, are they required to be present at court, has there been any form of attempted settlement, has there been any form of mediation, etc., etc. So, they should remain in contact with these officials from the South African Police Services and the NPA. And once again, as I pointed out, it is the duty of these officials to keep them informed at all times as to what transpires with this matter and what is required from them in order for the matter to be brought to finality. Now, if they say to the NPA and the South African Police Services that they are not interested in reaching any form of settlement with the accused person and they want justice to be seen, then it is the duty of the NPA to ensure that that justice does see the light of day in this matter, and that the matter is prosecuted properly, and that if a crime was committed as alleged, and certainly seems to have been the case in this matter, that the person is brought to book for that crime that has been committed. It is important for the NPA and the South African Police Services to instill confidence in society and in the community, that when a person commits a crime, that they will be prosecuted accordingly and that justice will be served at the end of the day.
Just finally and quickly, if you can the families lay a grievance against the investigating officer for not alerting them that there is an investigation against the perpetrator?
Yes, certainly. The first step that they would need to take is to approach the station commander of the police station where the matter is being investigated and bring their grievances to the attention of the station commander. And it's then the duty of the station commander to investigate and take further steps if necessary. The South African Police Services is there to serve our community and our society, and we must have confidence in them that they do their jobs adequately. And certainly they can lay those grievances if they think that that has not been the case up until now in this matter.
Ulrich Roux, always appreciate your time. Thank you very much indeed for giving us some clarity around the legalese on this case. And